Hello, film fans. Welcome to the Film vs. Film podcast. My name is Martin Harries, your host. I'm a filmmaker on occasion, but mainly can't stop yapping about movies. On this podcast, every episode, I pick a topic from a film that's coming out at the cinema or on streaming. I pick a favourite film from that topic and battle it out against a guest to decide which film would become the greatest film of all time. If you enjoy this podcast, please leave us a 5-star review and subscribe. Please enjoy part 2. Hello, podsters or podroonies, if you prefer. We are back again for part 2 of the podcast where we are talking spin-off films. Where, of course, you know this is the part of the show where we have a look at your Instagram responses from the previous episode, and that previous episode was on the, frankly, phenomenon that is Florence Pugh, one of the best actresses of her generation, in my opinion, and Anton Kinelove, a regular responder, went for Black Widow. Certainly the best thing about that film. Andrew Corns from the Revisionist Almanac podcast went with Midsummer. I might be mentioning his name again. The movie boners, Jake, went with Fighting with My Family. He's a big wrestling fan. Heather J. Stewart went with Oppenheimer, if that counts, as she's only in it for like a minute. Winking emoji. Soph, the movie nerds, went with Midsummer. And the Meandering Movie Podcast went with Lady Macbeth, which is on my watch list of Blu-rays. So I definitely want to watch that one at some point. Leigh, I am fascinated. What is your Florence Pugh film of choice for you?
My one is We Live in Time with Andrew Garfield. I'm going to have to go with that one because I didn't want to do Black Widow. I didn't want to do Thunderbolts. I wanted to pick something that, you know, she hasn't got a lot of light for, but I still think she does a fantastic job in. And you are right. Right now, she is one of the top actresses at the moment. And she can do the big blockbuster of, you know, Oppenheimer, Thunderbolts, and then she can do these smaller roles like Midsummer, We Live in Time, and she still nails them out of the park.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, and sorry, Dune
2 as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, she's so versatile. Like, she can be this great like character actor in small roles for these huge blockbuster films in Dune Part 2, Oppenheimer, etc. I suspect she's going to have a bigger role in Dune Messiah next year. But she can do those kind of character actor roles as well as be the lead of, you know, Thunderbolts and other romantic dramas as well. She's so versatile. Definitely one of the best actresses of her generation so far, for sure.
I was going to say, she also, in all of that, I remember in an interview where she did say that when she got the role for Black Widow, I think she said it was one of her friends or someone said to her, like, oh, now that's it. She's gone. She's no going to go longer do these smaller films. She's just going to do the big blockbusters. And she says in an interview, she's like, no, I'm going to be doing both.
Yeah.
I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah, that's really great to hear. So it is my turn, people, for spin-off films, and this was a really, really easy choice for me. Really easy because of a certain TV show called Andor, prequel to a prequel, Rogue One, a Star Wars story from 2016. I think when I watched this for the first time, like, this was the second Disney Star Wars film that came out, and certainly I really liked it. But I definitely preferred The Force Awakens just because I think, like, with Jyn Erso as a character, like, she's very reactionary to what's going on, and she's almost kind of a little bit of a passive protagonist going through this war, basically. You know, that's definitely one great thing about Rogue One is Rogue One brings the war into Star Wars for sure.
Finally,
but yeah, I wasn't like, yeah, this is the best thing Disney has ever done with Star Wars. I wasn't one of those people, but I still enjoyed it a lot. But I'm like, can you call this a Star Wars film when there's no Jedis in it? Is this possible? And then when I watched Andor, which is such an incredible show, so well written. Andor is basically like World War II French resistance in space. It's that good. It's that well written.
Pretty much.
Know, and it just makes this film so much better. I really enjoyed this film after you watch Andor. It elevates this film, it enriches this film a lot more in terms of how much sacrifice the rebellion has had to make to steal these plans in this film. So yeah, the second time I watched it for this, I mean, I've seen it 2 or 3 times and my opinion kind of stayed the same, but after watching Andor, I'm like, yeah, this is one of the best films like Disney has put out because of this TV show now. It just makes it better. Yeah. Would you agree with that? Or
110%. This I will be one of those skeptics that were like, oh, they're making an Andor TV show about the one character from Rogue One
that no one cares about.
that no one that was like, oh, we really need more Andor. And Rogue One, that's what we need. And you're right. Watching Andor season 1 and season 2, which is arguably one of the best Star Wars TV shows they've produced, one of the best Disney Plus TV shows they've produced, so especially from all the awards. But I'm with you. When I was watching Rogue One again, I was like, there is just so much more weight because of the fact that Andor really does end like boom, like you end of Andor, and it's like you start Rogue One like that going into this. And everything that happens, and I will agree with you, yes, it is a prequel to a prequel.
Yeah.
For a film that is literally only 2 lines and an opening crawl, that's all it is for this movie to begin.
Yeah,
and we get a Star Wars film that has no Jedi, but it made $1 billion in the box office.
Yeah, obviously it's really interesting as well because unfortunately with a lot of these Star Wars films, they've been retooled and re-edited or whatever, because obviously this was Gareth Edwards' film, like he directed it, but there, at some point in the process, I'm not really sure when, but Tony Gilroy came on board after they had shot and he reshot a lot of scenes. I know one scene for sure on the asteroid kind of place, the asteroid place near the beginning where Andor kills Danny Mays' character. That's all a Tony Gilroy edition. That's a whole reshoot. I don't know about a lot of the other stuff, but this is one example of a film where someone else comes in to like fix the film and it works. It actually makes it better. So I'm just like, wow, that's extremely rare when that happens.
Not like
it'd be really interesting to see like how this film would have ended up if Tony Gilroy wasn't involved, and if it was just Gareth Edwards that had final cut. But also, I just think there was like financial pressure as well, with the fact that The Force Awakens did ridiculously well, nearly $2 billion at the world box office. They were like, okay, we have to make this as good as we can get it. And there must have been people saying like, we can make this better. We really can. Let's bring one of the best writers in the world in Tony Gilroy, who's not like known for his love of Star Wars at all. He's very open about that, and just went into this, and obviously with Andor as well, as like, okay, we're making like a war movie, we're making a drama here. I'll leave the other kind of Star Wars elements to the people that know that stuff, but with the characters and the writing, like that's where I'm gonna have my focus. And it really shows with all this kind of reworking of the film, and obviously you have Andor, the TV show, that kind of fits seamlessly, which is his whole. That's Tony Gilroy's baby within Star Wars is Andor for sure, the TV show. But yeah, they both work like really well together.
They do.
Yeah,
and it's I know there's a lot of the comics, but Andor and Rogue One is some of the darkest moments that we've seen on the big screen for Star Wars and television, and it does it so fantastic well, and it's so refreshing that you don't need Jedi and Sith in a Star Wars film or a TV show to make it fantastic. And you're right. Out of all the films, this one actually does feel like a bloody war.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. So what happens in Rogue One? Well, going to IMDb as always. In a time of conflict, a group of unlikely heroes band together on a mission to steal the plans to the Death Star, the Empire's ultimate weapon of destruction. And of course, very vague from IMDb. So, directing then, the action scenes on Jeddah are so well done for me. You definitely get the sense of Gareth Edwards' directing style coming through. You know, we're in the heart of the city. The geography of this like little square with this Imperial tank coming through is established really quickly. You know, you have Saw Gerrera's men surrounding the tank. Then when like the first explosions go off, like Gareth strikes a great balance of like giving the action a good narrative flow, but also just picking out like cool moments of the characters to shine in this very kind of Tony Scott way, in this very handheld style, like you're in a proper war zone. Then it feels very different when like Donnie Yen's character Chirrut Imwe, who's blind again for Donnie Yen, and is seemingly surrounded by stormtroopers. Like there's some great like tight shots on him, like hearing and on the troopers of like little moments of the troopers moving, you know, like a footstep in the sand and like a finger on the trigger. You know, it's exactly where they are. Like the fight itself is pretty good, like with Donnie Yen using, you know, the blasters against them, etc. The moves, of course, look pretty cool. But for me, it kind of lacks a little bit of brutality because in some moments it just feels like a guy hitting stormtroopers with a stick.
Well, you're not wrong. That's literally what it is.
Yeah. And you're like, that shouldn't take a stormtrooper out. But overall, I think very good. That first proper action scene. How do you feel about that?
No, I agree with you. And it's funny, like when I go back and watch this, because I haven't watched this in so long. Like I was waiting until after Andor season 2 to rewatch it. And when you mentioned, oh, you want to do Rogue One, I was like, perfect. This fits in perfect. But no, like I like the action, and again, it shows you how useless again stormtroopers are. But Donnie Yen's character, like, you know he's going to kick ass from what he does. And it's even better because when you saw his character, it was a bit, which you're like, oh, is he a Jedi? Is he not a Jedi? Is he, you know, what is he? But you are right. Like the fact he does beat all of them basically being with a stick, you're like, my God, they're useless. Wow. But then he also, that action scene, which is, it's not major, but it's just a small little taste of what we're going to get later in this movie.
Yeah, absolutely.
More intimate fight.
Yeah. Like the film looks stunning for me, especially when Jeddah gets destroyed. You know, when the characters like fly off in the U-Wing. I really want a U-Wing Lego set now. After watching this, I'm like, I
need that.
Yeah. You know, that you think they're all going to be okay. Nope, the ground is literally about to swell over them like a wave at sea. It's kind of terrifying and beautiful at the same time after the Death Star strikes. Then there's like
K2S2. Yeah. There's what's on the horizon? That's it. There is no horizon.
Yeah. I can't see it from this window.
Yeah.
Then there's like the Edu attack from the X-Wings in all this kind of darkness and rain, which is really cool to watch, even though you can barely see anything in some moments. Like anything with X-Wings, I'm totally in. I'm like, yes, bring me this shit.
Sold.
Yeah. Like the setting is brilliantly kind of highlights the blaster bolts and explosions. And I always kind of enjoy like a sniper setup situation where you see different perspectives on a particular area. That's always kind of cool to watch. And there's a great moment from Donnie Yen where it's almost like a bowcaster that's literally fires like a bow, like, he fires a bolt into an X-wing. That was really cool. A highlight of that scene for sure. Just literally just seeing these X-wings just fly low between these canyons. I'm like, you can't get cooler than that. I mean, that is so awesome.
No, and like that scene too as well. It was like it felt very like guerrilla warfare, like Vietnam, because the rain of what they were trying to do, really setting in that war feel.
Yeah, definitely. One of the best moments for me is definitely the Darth Vader action scene at the end of the film. I quite liked. It's definitely a very nostalgic moment, and definitely a scene where we see Darth Vader at full capacity using the Force with like choking and throwing people about. Like the lightsaber work is not intricate. It doesn't have intricate choreography. It's just brutal, as it should be for me from that character. Do we need this scene? No, I don't think so. But it's still very cool to see. Even that brilliant like opening shot with Vader in silhouette, that was cool enough. But it is seen as controversial in some quarters of Star Wars fandom. That Darth Vader scene. That Darth Vader from the first scene is this kind of minimalistic, terrifying character, and that he's so powerful he doesn't need to get his lightsaber out to kill all these rebels. He could literally just force push them, and be done with it, or literally just choke them all at the same time. So I get why they put it in there, because we haven't, at this point in 2016, we haven't seen Darth Vader since that brief moment in Revenge of the Sith.
Yes.
So it had been a really long time. Well, like 11 years.
Yes.
Not massively long time, but it felt like a really long time. And it's the first time where you see him like really kicking ass. But does it go against kind of the story arc for Darth Vader? Because he doesn't really do any of that when he actually does eventually board the rebel ship in Star Wars 1977. And I think these people from the Star Wars fandom are the people that are like, no, you don't call the first film Star Wars: A New Hope. It's just Star Wars.
The same fanatics.
Which I, it's difficult to argue with. I'm like, when it came out, it was just called Star Wars.
Yeah.
So, and the next one was called Star Wars: Empire Strikes Back, or just Empire Strikes Back. I'm not entirely sure. I can't remember, but probably just Empire Strikes Back. But I'm in two minds about it, because it's still really awesome to watch. And yet, like, maybe in that moment, he was just like, you know what? I want to use my lightsaber. I haven't used it for a while. I'm getting it out. Even though I don't need to use it. I'm that powerful.
You know what?
I'm out of practice.
It's been a while since we took down some rebels.
Yeah.
I know why it was there, but I don't think it makes sense, the fact that he's that close when they do board it in A New Hope. But it's still a badass scene. It's still one of the top scenes in Star Wars, and the absolute dread that all you get from that is all you hear is the heavy breathing without seeing Darth Vader yet, and you just get that chill that you're like, oh, you're all gonna die.
Yeah. That first silhouette is really great. I heard Gareth Edwards talking in an interview on Facebook. I think it just popped up, and he was saying that like he wanted it to be very dark, and when the lightsaber ignites, you immediately know who it is, but you kind of couldn't really see the silhouette, so they just put a tiny bit of backlighting with smoke of the red backlighting to see that iconic silhouette, to really just kind of make it work. So it's a slight tweak with the lighting there, which I thought was kind of a really nice touch.
That's cool. Well, he is fully
to get it right
character. Yeah, that's true. And it's such a scene, like him just standing at that hallway is just that him just standing there, just like, oh my god, things are gonna get bad and good.
Yeah, I mean, when I watch the original Star Wars film again, it'll be interesting to see how the kind of those opening moments play. I haven't seen the first film in a while, so yeah, it'll be interesting how Rogue One and Star Wars kind of pairs up together with those scenes. But
it's literally that's the thing. I was just having this type of conversation with a mate the other day. You can really watch Andor season 1 and 2, watch Rogue One, and watch A New Hope. And if you do that in one sitting, it is a continuous shot, because literally Rogue One and New Hope is like 10 minutes later.
Yeah.
Of them chasing them.
Yeah, that's really cool. My favorite, I guess I'm cheating a little bit here, but my favorite scene is basically the second half of the film on Scarif. It's literally like over 50 minutes long, that whole sequence. It's really quite impressive that they sustain all that for such long periods.
And the setting, I don't blame you. Like the whole set, like the beach setting, it's so vibrant to he's a desert planet, he's a desert planet, he's a desert planet.
Yeah, I just love how like the action kind of escalates on Scarif. Plus, in kind of typical Star Wars, where you have like 3 levels of action in different places, like the space battle outside the gate with the X-wings and the Star Destroyers, like the ground battle in this beautiful tropical setting, and I especially love the takedowns of the AT-ATs with that alien in kind of a gunner position on that U-wing. So cool. On the U-wing, rather. I think there's only one of them, really. And you have like Cassian and Jinna, so basically performing this heist in the radar tower, stealing the Death Star plans with K2SO protecting them at the door. And I love how in each action scenes, they slowly intensify as the Empire's forces get stronger. Like in space, they release like what seems like hundreds of TIE fighters.
Yeah, I know.
And you're like, okay, that's a lot. There's only like, I literally only counted like 5 X-Wings in a single formation. You know, so that was really great. And like the flow of the camera in that was amazing as always. But I love how they kind of incorporate like the pilot shots from like the original films. Yeah. That was really great. I don't know whether I need to look this up probably, but I don't know whether they were like directly from like, you know, edits from the original films or scenes they didn't use. Do you know that?
No, I know the big mission was they wanted to keep very much the vibe of A New Hope because of how close it was. So they did want to keep some shots very similar to what you saw, so you could watch the film back to back.
Nice. And then, like, on the planet, on the ground, and in the air, like, there's more and more rebel forces that get taken out. And this sense of being, like, overwhelmed is increased. You know, in this first Star Wars, this is the first Star Wars film that definitely brings the wars into Star Wars, where you're actually not sure if these people are going to get out alive, even though you're like, yeah, they are probably all going to die because we don't see them in Star Wars 77 A New Hope. But you still want them to live because the characters are really well drawn. You know, later there's like there is a slight hope when they get like the Corvette out. I love that name of that little space ship that literally like pushes one Star Destroyer into another. I was not expecting that at all. That was just kind of a genius move on the Rebels' part, you know.
Just push them.
You know, and it destroys the gate that way rather than just bombing it. Then, of course, pretty much all of these characters we followed in this film die, and it's quite a somber tone towards the end, even though they accomplished their mission, which makes it even more emotional. But probably my favorite death is from Baze Moldis, the guy with the giant like gun, and seems like all his ammo is on his back. And he's just like gunning down Death Troopers left, right, and center before he gets blown away by a grenade. That was really a great death for him. Yeah, what are your kind of favorite moments in the Battle of Scarif for you?
To me, I always like Donnie Yen's character.
Yeah.
Where his death, the fact that he's blind and he still has a good action scene. And you're right, it's when they get to Scarif, it's just pretty much just one by one by one as they get all picked off.
Yeah.
As they go along, it's just sad. For literally, these people only know each other from like a day
for 5 minutes.
For 5 minutes.
Yeah.
But I do remember watching this film in a theater, being like, "Oh, yeah, that's right. No one survives because none of you are in any other Star Wars fiction moving forward."
Yeah.
But yeah, the art's coming out. That was fantastic. But yeah, Donnie Yen's character was my favorite death. And then I guess at the end, both Andor and Jin, just the fact that they accomplished their mission and they're just looking at the horizon, which Andor just adds so much more weight to that scene.
Yeah, definitely.
Knowing the fact Andor has a child.
Yeah. Oh God.
Yeah.
It's just beautifully shot as well.
The whole film
just kind of just goes, I guess, in a way it's done in such a way that keeps kind of, your 12A rating. It just kind of goes all to white, but that's kind of, I wouldn't want it to be any other way, really.
No.
A film that comes to mind is something like Deep Impact, where the journalist and her father just get swept away by the waves, and I think the waves just get really, you see them go,
Yeah,
but you don't with this. It's just a whiteout, which I think is perfect, which certainly suits the tone of what's going on, because it is it's such an unnatural anti-god thing to do that happens on this planet. Literally a giant laser taking out this planet. It's just how do you show that on screen in a way that kind of keeps it at a certain tone that anyone can sort of watch this film is quite remarkably well done. Yeah, and just the fact that they're hugging each other, it's really great. And even going back to the AT-ATs, they're genuinely scary in this when they come through the trees. And you're like, oh shit, they're fucked.
This is not hot.
Shit. When you see them in half in Empire Strikes Back, you're like, these are cool.
Yeah. They get to Rogue One. No.
Yeah, run.
Yeah. And it's interesting, like you said just before, about the giant beam coming down to the planet, because when we have seen, I'm 90% sure I'm right on this, we haven't actually seen the beam coming down on the planet's perspective before. This is the first time we see this in Rogue One, and that's what I liked about on Jeddah, was when the beam came down, you heard nothing. Very much like Oppenheimer.
Yeah.
It just dropped, and there was nothing until they felt the Force coming at them.
Yeah, well, light travels faster than sound, so
that's true.
That's one piece of space physics that they keep. But of course, bombs dropping in space.
I was thinking the same thing. I was thinking the same scene, and I remember watching that at the theater going, "Nope, I'm not gonna. Nope, I'm just gonna enjoy the film. I'm not going to."
Yeah. But my thing is just surely there's some sort of some sort of gravity technology that they've got in here somehow. Because I do quite like Last Jedi personally. But yeah, that did come to mind. They don't really explain. Well, you shouldn't explain these things anyway. No. But do you have a favorite? Is that your favorite scene, the Scarif battle, or is there anything else action-wise, direction-wise you want to mention?
The Scarif battle would have to be. I think it's fantastic. From when they first arrive, and as you said, everything starts escalating. AT-ATs, and then Donnie Yen's character with his death just really adds to it. Probably, if I take away from that, just the sheer force of when you see Forrest Whitaker's character Saw Gerrera, when he's watching this wall come right up to him.
Yeah.
Be like, this is what these people experience when the Death Star's been used and what's happened. And just watching it all come out, even when you're seeing the ship of them when they're getting away, just how tiny the ship is to the giant wave that's about to crush everything.
Yeah, it's beautifully shot in terms of the scale of the film as well.
Yeah, to realize, oh yeah, you're effed. You're not running away.
Directing score for you? What are you going for Rogue One?
Director score, I will give it 8.1. I think
8.1?
Yeah, I think Gareth did a fantastic job to give us something that feels familiar to A New Hope, but at the same time give us new shots. Because I feel like there hasn't been another Star Wars film like Rogue One. Like, yes, we haven't got a lot of Star Wars films since then, but Rogue One just feels like it just fits in this nice little pocket.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to go fairly high. Just when you put this film in the context of that someone else in Tony Gilroy came on board to supposedly, in air quotes, fix this film from a directing point of view, and it still looks this good. It's quite remarkable. And also, this is, Star Wars is kind of what some people describe it as a history. There's all sorts of different events that happen in Star Wars, and with that you have different design elements from all these different periods in history, like you have in our own history on Earth. So, and yet they still kind of bring new design elements to this particular period in time of the Star Wars history. So you've got like the Death Troopers all in black, which looks really great for,
menacing.
Sort of Krennic's personal guard. And you've got kind of the tropical brown beigey troopers. And you've got these amazing sort of new TIE fighters where it's just like basically just two normal wings, sort of, that are kind of angled down. They're not like right on the ends of the wings, which kind of seemingly work kind of really well for Scarif. It's more sort of kind of like a seaplane, seaplane fighters. Yes. I can imagine them landing on water. You don't actually see that, but yeah.
No, but I know what you mean. Yeah,
yeah. So from that perspective, it's really great. So they're very much keeping to the original designs of what makes Star Wars, yet bringing new things as well. Gareth Edwards' kind of guerrilla sort of style of directing works so well, and just the whole film is so beautifully done. So I'll go like an 8.8 for me. I'm a big Star Wars fan, so
I couldn't tell.
Right. Screenplay then.
And just so note, you actually, I totally forgot this film did actually come after Force Awakens. The fact that we got that, and then we got this, and that was like winner, and then we got Last Jedi. Take it as you will.
You're not a fan of Last Jedi then?
There's elements I like of it, but there's parts of it's like, it's almost like you can tell there's a whole other movie in this. And it's, I'm not a big fan.
Okay. Right, screenplay then, moving on.
Yeah. Screenplay. Yeah. After this film came out, how many times did you hear people say, "The Force is with me, I'm one with the Force"?
Yeah, I mean that was a really great line that, lots of fans were quoting at the time. And sometimes, like, when you have kind of chants like that in Star Wars, I'm not talking about Acolyte at all, but they can sound really goofy and just not right at all. But this just felt right with kind of that mantra for those two characters. Yeah, kind of really well judged and kind of really simple as well, really, when you think about it. Whereas the I can't even remember what it is, but the Acolyte chant with those kind of Force witches just did not work for me. It was just really
the one
funny.
was with me, you were the one was me, let me do the hand thing. It was horrible.
It misjudged.
Yeah.
Let's put it mildly.
Just a little bit.
Yeah, but in this film, what's kind of interesting about the first half an hour of the film is that there's a lot of like plotting and a lot going on. Like the rebellion has got word from Danny Mays' character on the asteroid that Galen Erso has this defected cargo pilot on Jeddah and has got him to see Saul Guerrera and tell him that the kyber crystals are being shipped out of the moon for a planet-killing weapon. So Cassian Andor and Jyn Erso need to find Saul Guerrera to find out where Galen is to know about how to kill the Death Star. So that's a lot of information to take in. But what's kind of more kind of enriching and exciting is when you've seen all of Andor, the TV show, but how they kind of make all that information even more interesting in the film, even if you haven't seen the TV show, is the fact that Cassian has his own mission to kill Galen Erso, Mads Mikkelsen's character, and Galen happens to be Jin's father. So there's kind of personal stakes written into this very early on, which I think makes it more accessible and more kind of for a broader audience with this heavy plotting going on. So you don't necessarily, well, I think you do have to see the other films, but there's more like emotional stakes for more casual Star Wars fans to attach themselves to, which I think is a clever idea, and it kind of works really well later on in the film anyway. So, yeah.
No, it does.
Is it, for you, is there too much going on? Because sometimes it is a little bit difficult to follow, because it's all kind of crammed in with all the setup and the plotting. How do you feel about all that stuff?
When I first watched the film, I wasn't thinking crammed, but I definitely did a little bit this time watching the second one. That making me, it was just a bit of like me thinking, oh, this is a little bit more convoluted than I remember it being.
Right.
Just the fact that we just need to get the Death Star plans. We just we need to find this defective pilot. We just need to find him. We need to find Saw, and then we'll find out. And the fact that she gets the plan, like he tells the plans to her in the hologram.
Yeah.
like technically, you could have just taken out Jin's father and be like, just focus on getting the plans. You would have been a step ahead if you just went for the plans.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, they put, emotional family stakes in there as well, which I think works definitely really well, especially if you've watched the Andor TV show.
Yes.
And I love how after watching Andor, the TV show, your watching experience of Rogue One is so different for the character of Cassian Andor. Like, when you first watched Rogue One, you're very much following Jyn Erso's character through this story and not Andor necessarily. But after watching the TV show, you're very behind Cassian.
Yeah, this is an Andor movie.
Yeah. The scenes that really highlight this is on the U-Wing ship going to Edu and then back in the stolen Imperial ship. Like, on the U-Wing, Jin's telling everyone on the ship that she received a message from her father on a hologram that there's like a weakness in the Death Star to destroy it. He's put it in there. And that's on Scarif, but with no evidence. And everyone on the ship believes her apart from Cassian. And he has his orders to kill Galen and has helped build the Death Star. Then on the way back in the heat of the battle, Jyn finds out that Cassian tried to kill Galen, but pulled out at the last minute. And Jyn gives Cassian shit that he's lied all this time and says to him that he may as well be a stormtrooper. And then and I was like, whoa, that is a deep burn. What the hell are you saying? Yeah. Then after watching the TV show, the Andor TV show, I'm totally on Cassian's side.
Yeah.
Basically, he's learned from Luthen, Stellan Skarsgård's character, that he's had to lie to survive and to keep Rebellion intel safe, even though at times Cassian hated him for it. Plus, Cassian has lost practically everyone that he has known in that show, including the fact that he will never see his child and that he doesn't even know he has a child.
No.
So I was like, I know you've lost your dad right now, Jyn, but come on.
Yeah.
You have no idea what it takes to make a rebellion work in the context of what Cassian has been through. It's very difficult to trust someone with intel from someone he's just met.
Yeah.
Like in that last block in Andor, before the TV show, you're probably saying, Cassian, you're a dick.
Yeah.
Instead,
100%.
you're definitely not saying that now. Like, you're even saying, like, no, Jin, you're a bit of a dick right now.
Back up. You don't know what this man's been through to get here. You try working for Luthen.
Yeah. So certainly for me, those scenes on the ships before and after Edu, those scenes in particular just hit different after you watch Andor, and it just makes this film so much better after watching the TV show, especially in those scenes.
It does, and not only Andor, but for me, it was also when Mon Mothma, when she first pops up. When I saw her, I was like, God, really just how much you've been through, just to be standing there in this room. It was like everything you've gone through between Andor season 1, season 2. Again, you've lost everyone. Your husband, who having an affair. Does that still count if you ditch him if he's having an affair? And your daughter.
Yeah. I very much doubt she will ever see her daughter again because she's on Coruscant. So yeah. Saul Guerrera, I think, is a fascinating character in this film, and obviously he's been through
deception.
He was in the Rebels TV show as well. Yeah. I really like Rebels, actually. It's my favorite. I think my favorite animated show is The Bad Batch. I can love that show.
Yeah,
I need to catch up on the latest season, but yeah, really good. And it's interesting because he's definitely a character. He's an extremist rebel, so he doesn't trust anyone. And even Jin, to a certain extent, when they meet, he questions her, like, why have you even come to see me? Like, his character definitely highlights that trust is like a huge part of this era of Star Wars. It's interesting with Jin's character arc as well, because she doesn't really trust anyone either. Like, Saul basically left her as a child, and at first doesn't care about the cause in taking down the Empire. She just wants to find her dad, Galen. Everyone has like trust issues in this film, but quite rightly so. But I think, the further they kind of go into it, like, hope emerges, I think, as the theme of the film that kind of unites everyone against this superpower of the Empire. Because there's an interesting moment in the film when, like, Jin is kind of telling this speech to everyone in the council on Yavin 4 before they go off to Scarif, and they all kind of vote against her for doing that. And Andor is the one that helps her with that. And obviously before that, like, Andor was they're not best of friends. So, but I think because of the TV show as well, Andor has been the one that has gone off on missions without permission. He's gone against strict orders. So I think even that scene, like, watching it on its own doesn't work brilliantly, but because of Andor, it enhances that. Because even though it's not particularly like specifically said between those characters, I think Andor sees something in Jin in that moment after the council that, I think we're at the point where I need to trust her now and focus on hope. Hope. Rebellions are built on hope, and Andor sees something in Jin here. Because, like, I've done this before you've arrived on the scene with the rebellion. So, you know what? I'm going to help you. So I think when watching that kind of transition in that scene for the character doesn't work amazing in the film alone, but certainly the TV show helps fill in the gaps with the character of Andor, and enriches it. So yeah, the TV show definitely just makes this film so much better.
so much makes it a lot better. And I agree with you. It doesn't seem like he just flips so easy. He's like, I have disobeyed the alliance multiple times. Just recently, a week ago, if we talk about timelines, just a week ago.
Exactly.
And I still feel for Mon in that scene when Jin's saying everything, and people are like, no, we have to disband, and we're not doing it. And she just looks down, like, I feel like, wow, you've seen so much, and you still got to deal with this bullshit.
Yeah.
And that you can tell that she feels like Jin's right. You're right, but there's nothing definitely. I can do.
Because I think she does vote in favor of attacking Scarif, but obviously is outvoted is outvoted. It's interesting as well with Cassian throughout the film, because in Andor, the TV show, in the last couple of blocks, he has been disobeying orders and was confined to quarters at one point. So I feel like in this film, he's like, okay, I need to get back on side a little bit. I need to be following orders, which he does. But then again, as I said, it comes to a point where like we have this information that I brought, well, basic information that I brought first. Like, we need to act on this. Okay, I need to go. Okay, I've kind of got back on side now. I feel like I've brought enough of my loyalty back that I can break the rules again.
That's enough. Nah, I'll bring you all these guys. Let's go.
Yeah. I actually find the Empire character dynamics really interesting as well. Where at one point in the film, like Grand Moff Tarkin just takes over the Death Star command from Krennic. You know, then in the Darth Vader scene with Krennic, where arguably he doesn't need to be here, but because all we get is just Vader telling him to make sure Galen doesn't compromise the Death Star. But it's interesting in terms of where Krennic thinks he stands in the hierarchy of the Empire in commanding the Death Star. You know, he's desperate to keep the Death Star under his control and not Tarkin. So it's really interesting because Krennic is basically groveling to Darth Vader. Is like, please, am I still in command? Can you just confirm that, please?
I'm still good, right? I'm still good.
Yeah,
cool. Yeah. And how do you feel, because you mentioned it, how do you feel about the scenes with Tarkin? Like, there was a lot of controversy when this film dropped with him.
Yeah, I think, you know, the voice actor, I think, is spot on. But yeah, this film is certainly the early days of like doing that, of doing CGI on an actor's face to make them look like a completely different character. I feel like they do it all the time now. But yeah, it's not like amazing, I gotta be honest.
No, not looking back now.
No, you're like, yeah, that's definitely a CGI Peter Cushing right now, not the real guy. But I feel like you can't really, because where this is set, like, you can't really not have that character in this film. It would just feel odd without Tarkin, like one of the top generals in the Empire. Like, he has to be involved in some way because he is in command of the Death Star in the first original film, so he has to be in there in some capacity. So I definitely appreciate like what they did, but it's definitely not quite there. I don't know whether that at some point they will redo all that stuff. Probably not, but yeah, it's not amazing. But I appreciate it.
No, I agree with you. Like, you really did have him in it, because it would make no sense, the fact when you've got Krennic and then suddenly, oh, you're not the boss, but Tarkin's taken over, which we have not seen Tarkin for the past 2 hours of this film, but he's going to be in New Hope. The thing is, what I get is, as long as this, you know, I think the scenes that he was in, he was still menacing, very much like the truth to the character, and they got approval at the time.
Yeah.
Like, his estate said, yes, do it. So as long as I think the scenes lined up, it's truthful, and you go, yes, it's totally fine.
Yeah, I think it's just the quality of the CGI, certainly like with films now, I don't think there's any excuse to make it look bad. One obviously unfortunate case is with Ian Holm in Alien Romulus.
Yes,
which wasn't amazing.
No.
Well, it wasn't the same character. Rook, I think that was the name of the character, not Ash from the original film.
Yes.
But they have fixed it for the home release. So it'll be interesting. I haven't actually watched it again because I really fucking love that film, and I'm kind of scared to watch it again because I'm like, was I wrong?
Yeah. But you're right. That's I think one of the only scenes of that film that when I watched it, I was a bit like,
yeah. So there's definitely a long way to go, I think, with that. I think one of the best cases is even though the film as a whole isn't great, is Indiana Jones and the whatever it's called. I can't remember.
Dial of Destiny.
Dial of Destiny, yeah.
On. So spot on.
De-aging Harrison Ford, that was pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Funny and interesting lines. Certainly not as many as Deadpool, for sure. But there's some good ones. K2SO kind of choke slams Jyn Erso when she's and then he says, "Congratulations, you are being rescued."
Yeah. My favorite one, and I still laughed out loud, is when they're capturing, when Saw's crew captures all the characters at the very start, and they're bagging all of them, and Johnny goes like, "I was like, oh come on, I'm blind."
Yeah,
that still gets to me. Yeah.
One good one is when Jyn Erso takes out a K2 unit, and K2SO turns up and he's like, "Did you know that wasn't me?" And she's like, yeah, sure.
Well, actually, there was I did see the recent Star Wars Celebration is that the actor who plays Andor did mention that, you know, when K2SO like slaps him, apparently that was just a reaction. So when he's actually smiling because he wasn't expecting how hard he was going to slap him.
Oh, right.
So that's why he's got his hand over his mouth in the scene.
Oh, wow. Amazing. One that's kind of great, that kind of little speech, Cassian Andor, played by Diego Luna, says to Jyn Erso, Felicity Jones, on the Imperial ship. I didn't write the whole speech down, but one part where he kind of gets really emotional is when I've been in this fight since I was 6 years old. And of course, that whole kind of monologue holds so much weight now.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was brilliant. Again, another emotional one when Chewit Imwe, Donnie Yen is dying and Blaze is holding him and they're like, look to the Force and you will always find me. The Force is with me and I am one with the Force. I was kind of tearing up a little bit there. I really was. I was like, oh, this is so good.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
You're kidding me.
But I think my favorite is from, of course, K2SO when they're trying to take out a load of stormtroopers with grenades and such, and he says there are a lot of explosions for two people blending in, and then like he catches a grenade, throws it at more stormtroopers. Boom! You're right. I should have waited on the ship. That was great. Love that.
And that's actually the only one little gripe I have about Andor season 2. It's I just wish K2 was in it more.
Yeah. Apparently there was a whole like episode that they were going to do like just with him, but they just didn't do it. Just I think budgetary things. So
yeah, you probably can look it up, but I'd hate to know how much the final budget of Andor season 2 was.
Oh, it's up there.
Yeah,
it's a lot of money.
Yeah, worth it.
Yeah, screenplay score for you, Leigh. What are you going for? Knowing that you have watched Andor.
I'll give it 7.8.
7.8?
Yeah, I'll give it 7.8. Okay. Like it's not wow amazing, but just like simple lines, just like I'm one with the Force and the Force is me. That's a stage with you forever. And K2S2, pretty much everything that came out of his mouth was just funny.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, it's difficult because I can't help but like bump it up after watching Andor, but at the same time, it just takes a lot of focus off of Jyn Erso. Yeah. And she is still a bit of a passive protagonist and is just kind of reacting to different situations. And yet, like, this is kind of really intricately done with like the first half an hour, and yet there's just a great unique tone to this, certainly within a Star Wars film, that it's just really somber, and yet there's a great balance of nostalgia, and you kind of deep down all these characters are going to die, but you don't want them to. You're very much in this film like, they're kind of, because of Andor has enriched a few of these other characters, and you're like, it's painful when they die. Like, you don't often get that at all in Star Wars. And I can't ignore the fact that Andor has made this script better for the character of Andor. So,
100%.
And kind of the internal politics within the Empire between Krennic and Tarkin and Vader is just really interesting as well. They don't go into it too much, but it's still efficiently written. So I'll go like an 8.5.
Ooh,
for me. Yeah. Right. Acting then. I love Ben Mendelsohn in this as Director Krennic. Definitely one of the best Star Wars villains for me since Vader, and especially backed up by his performance in Andor 2.
Yes.
Like the opening scene in this, he's great, where he finds Galen Erso, played by Mads Mikkelsen, on this farming planet, and it's like he's just talking to an old mate. Like, he's like, come on, man, come back and work for me and finish the job. We can go for a pint afterwards.
Come on.
Is that kind of sort of attitude towards their conversation. But at the same time, like, he's prepared to like search his house and kill his wife in a moment's thought. Like, so fantastic from Mendelsohn. Like, Mikkelsen is great too, in just like immediately recognizing what this guy is capable of, and not just because of the uniform he's wearing. Like, it's just a great opening from an acting point of view for me. Yeah, really great, that opening.
Yeah. A man of your talents, it's a simple life.
Yeah. I've seen a lot of memes as well.
I know
with that scene.
Yeah, that's just that high thing. Is
we were
just
this close.
This close to greatness. Yeah. No, I agree with you. He's become one of the best villains, and I'm saying when I found out the fact that he was coming back for Andor season 2, I was like, yes. Which I thought he was going to be more in it.
Yeah, but I mean, he's really intimidating in Andor season 2 for sure. But certainly Krennic is on the receiving end of the intimidation. for sure. Like, I also really like the scene with Vader and Krennic, from an acting point of view. Like, as I said in screenplay, not much happens in this scene, but this is the first time we see Darth Vader since that very brief scene in Revenge of the Sith. We barely really see him, and it's kind of annoyingly goofy at the end when he says no. It's so bad for me with that. But the aura and presence Darth Vader gives off is quite remarkable in this. Like, because he's arguably the most recognizable character in all of cinema, and quite rightly, Ben Mendelsohn is absolutely shitting himself. He plays it so well, where it's like he struggles to get his words out at times. It's so good from Mendelsohn.
So good. And it's funny you actually say that, because that reminds me of Ewan McGregor did say that when they were filming Obi-Wan, he's like, he had a fight scene with Darth Vader, and the first time when it was like action, he turns around, he actually shit himself, because he's like, Vader's right there at me, and he just like lost his shit.
That, I don't that show.
You heard that big sigh, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, I think the last episode is really good with that fight, but again, it's just a rip-off of Ahsoka with that fight, with cracking part of his helmet. I'm just like, dude, come on. Like, the only difference you are doing here is changing the eye, which side it is. That's it. Yeah. But they really make Vader look stupid in that show, and it's just, and he's kind of breakdancing with the fights as well. I'm just like, what the fuck is going on with this character? I really don't. He's just really poorly directed in that film, in that TV show for me. Definitely one of the worst TV shows in my opinion, for sure.
Boy.
I mean, am I wrong? Do you like that stuff or not?
No, the only parts of the TV show I liked of Obi-Wan was just all the beats with Anakin and Darth Vader. Yeah. Everything else, I was like, did we really need that? Like, I guess.
Yeah.
But I like the flashback when they did the fight scene.
Yeah.
Each other. yeah, I can tell you it's not one of the shows I go back the most to. I'll go back to Mando season 1 before I'll go back to Obi-Wan.
Yeah, definitely. Felicity Jones in this as Jyn Erso, I don't think she does anything particularly special with her performance. There's no doubt she is an incredible actress. I love things like The Theory of Everything that she's in, the Stephen Hawking biopic. She's fantastic in that. Whereas this, as I said, like, she's just a passive protagonist. So I don't. There's no real scene where maybe the scene with Diego Luna on the Imperial cargo ship going back, leaving Edo. She's pretty good with that, but for me, your focus is on Diego Luna as Cassian Andor. He's really good in that with Jyn, and it almost comes off that Felicity Jones is a bit whiny and just gives off like really cheap shots to him, and it's just like,
yeah. You know what this band's
need to be put in your place, woman.
Yeah.
That's a bad thing to say, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, I don't know. Don't clip that. No, but you're right. It's if Andor, of course, hasn't enhanced everything, but she's not. You're not there for her. Like her best performance is when she's in the battle room.
Yeah, definitely.
When she's making the speech,
when they're making the vote,
and what rebellion's built on, like fight. But the rest are like, you did good, you did okay.
Riz Ahmed as the kind of the cargo pilot, I think is really good. Again, like nothing. Yeah, Rook, Bodhi Rook, I think it's called. Isn't
has an awful time with a squid.
Yeah, but again, like after that little scene he has in that prison cell with Diego Luna, because obviously it's mentioned it's like the side effects of with that squid thing, the boogaloo or whatever it's called.
Yeah,
great name. It's like you lose your mind is a side effect, but I think they don't really go too heavy on that, and I think Riz Ahmed like does really well in just. There's a great balance with that performance of just. He's definitely like not quite there with his consciousness, but yeah, it's just really well judged with that, and I think Riz Ahmed is really great in like Scarif as well when he's trying to hook up the wires and such, and commanding his men. Like there's kind of a really great like desperation about him because he's not a fighter, he's just a pilot. So there's
a cargo pilot.
Yeah, so he's literally he's in a way very scared, but has a very panicked like determination about that as well. Like in a lot of the characters, and like Donnie Yen has this great smoothness and kind of holy quality about his acting. Really great from a lot of the cast for me. But I think my favorite for sure is Ben Mendelsohn. He's just really great as Krennic for me.
Oh, we were standing amongst my achievement, not yours. And to take it into the fact as well, speaking with Mickelson's performance and with Tarkin, is that, which again Andor really highlights, is that it doesn't matter what level you're on. If there's someone higher than you, then you're most likely going to die or get thrown into prison.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that we see that chain go all the way up through Andor season 2, and this is Krennic's, where he's got someone higher than him.
I mean, in terms of like Andor, he kind of gets a kind death, to be honest, just getting shot.
Yeah.
Whereas Dedra Meero in Andor is literally on, I can't remember what the prison's called, but she's in prison, and Tony Gilroy himself is just like, that's worse than death, being in that place. Yeah. So
exactly.
Yeah.
She's like, oh, I wonder what everyone else is doing. Scarif.
Yeah. What's your favorite performance for you?
Well, mine's Donnie Yen. I think he's did good, but he's just I forget every scene on what he does, and because he's blind, and I think director Krennic, because before Andor, we've even just seen this character. Babe Mendelsohn does a fantastic job with him.
Yeah,
for a character that's You feel for him, you're angry with him all the way through because you're meant to hate Tarkin at the end.
Yeah. Acting score, Leigh, what are you going for?
I think majority of everybody did it's a solid performance. Again, with Cassian Andor does such a good job on that front. I will give this about 8.5.
Nice. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there are some really great performances here. Like, as I say, Ben Mendelsohn is great. And just kind of the acting performance of, like, Darth Vader as well. Just making him not breakdance and just being very minimalist still in a certain way. That he moves that you kind of expect. He's not doing anything out of the ordinary that you get practically all the time in Obi-Wan. Again, like Diego Luna, amazing. Felicity Jones is good, nothing special. But yeah, Ben Mendelsohn is just fantastic in anything. Donnie Yen doing his Donnie Yen thing. So yeah, I don't think I'll go as high as an 8.3, but I'll go like an 8.5. Sorry, that you went with. I'll go like an 8.2 for me.
That's still solid.
Yeah. Right, let's add up the scores then for Rogue One. Star Wars story.
You need like a ticker in the background when you do this.
Yeah.
Like I said before, Rogue One was only on a budget of $280 million, and it made $1 billion at the box office for a film with basically no character lives to see tomorrow.
Yep. Rogue One gets just shy of 50 points with 49.9, which wins the episode. Whereas Deadpool only got 48.9. Do check out part 1 as well. So unfortunately, Leigh, it's another defeat.
That tally is looking bad. Really bad.
So I don't think you'll be going up anywhere on the League of Podcasts.
No, I'll take that.
Next episode, as checks notes, a film called Superman is out. Never heard of him. And of course, we'll be talking Superman films. And my guest will be Andrew Corns from the Revisionist Almanac podcast. Ooh. Always a lot of fun with him. Leigh, you have been amazing as always. Always a great chat with you. Tell us about your podcast and where can we find you, sir?
As always, you can find my podcast, Lights Camera Rant, wherever you get your local podcasts, or typing in Mr. Rant, I'll pop up on Spotify, YouTube, everywhere we can get podcasts. But as always, make sure you go past Film versus Film first.
Excellent stuff. Yeah. Right, it's time to say goodbye, people. I know it's very, very, very sad. It is goodbye from Mr. Rant. Bye-bye.
Goodbye. And
it is goodbye from me. I think I'm going to be touching myself tonight. May the force be with you.
Whoa, bye-bye. Okay, jeez. Good luck.
Bye-bye.
Right.
The force is with me. Bye-bye. I am one with the force. Bye-bye. That's it for part 2. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed it. Check out part 1 if you haven't done so already. But don't stop there. Get involved and tell me what your favourite films are relating to the episodes. Send us a DM or comment on Instagram and TikTok at Film vs. Film Podcast, for X at FVF_podcast. Plus, we are now on YouTube, so hit that like button and comment there. If you do, I'll give you a shout out on the next episode. Remember, please leave us a 5-star review and subscribe. Pod signing off.